Well, hello there, my Jews. Hope you're all doing wonderful. I had a great evening last night. Did a bit of crotch pot cooking here in Manila. It's very hot. But yeah, today we're going to do a little breakdown on this loop I've made, which is all made from phase plant, really, except for the drums. So anyway, here's what it sounds like. Okay, something I whipped up this morning, not with the crotch pot that time, but basically I did a video yesterday with a similar kind of idea with a Fast and Furious Vital loop, and I wanted to do a bit of a Fast and Furious Neurofunk phase plant loop this time, so similar concept. First thing I did was I just changed the drums around a little bit, you know, so yeah, I basically changed the. I had a lesson with a student recently, and he was like struggling to make progressions in his track, which is very normal. And one thing I often do is just like change the drum beat, like very simple, change the kicks and snares for like a different section. So for this tutorial, I thought let's change the drum beat up as well. So I just changed the kick and snare sort of position, so a bit more of a funky groove. So the snare is now not on the normal two-step snare pattern, but it's actually a little bit late, that first one. And the second one is a little bit early. Sorry, I lie. No, both of the snares are late, okay? The kick is in the same sort of position that you would have on a two-step pattern, but both snares are now, 2 beats later, right? I just put a couple of different hats and percussions in as well, just to change up the rhythm a bit from yesterday, and also change the position of these one-shot rides as well. They just sit on top of the kicks, these rides. If you listen here, there are 2 different rides sitting on top of the kick, okay? So giving that kick a nice bit of interest as well. Okay, and then here are the sounds that are added on top. Play them on their own. I did a similar thing as yesterday with the Vital. I basically just made 2 phase plant bass patches, bounced them both out with the same MIDI, and then chopped and changed them around so that they have different patterns. But basically this time it was a bit more of a complex chopping process, so I won't be able to replicate it now in the tutorial, but I'll show you how I made the patches. And I also made this background kind of tension lead layer as well, because I felt it was still missing a bit of energy. But let's dive into some of the patches then. So what's this one here? Yeah, so this is one of the main basses, and then we've got another one down here. Yeah, so the more arpeggiated one. So let's start off with this one first. So this one, I believe I did definitely name this one. That's very strange, but yeah. Yeah, it has got a name. I can't remember what it was now. For some reason, the name's not loading up. But anyway, this is made from a similar process to what I did on a recent phase plant video. So you guys, in case you missed it, I made a Grainstorms free downloadable pack where it's basically just 30 sounds that I found on my hard drive that I thought would be good for like granular synthesis. So if you go over to Patreon, you can get that for free on the free version of my Patreon. And so Grainstorms, I'm just using that to feed some textures through into some sine waves essentially. So I found one here which is called the Flute Snake, which I liked, and on its own, if I just turn off the effects for a moment, I'll do the phase plant stuff a bit quickly because otherwise we'll be here forever again. But yeah, it just sounds like just a fluty texture. It had a bit of a shaker in, that's why it sounded like a rattlesnake. But yeah, I turned the grains up a bit here, and this basically is quite low in the mix, right? So it's like -27 here, but I route it through 2 sine waves. Okay, so I set that output to go into the phase position of 2 sine waves, one a little bit to the left, one a bit to the right. Okay, that's how the sound starts. And the reason I've used 2 sine waves is to get that detuned wobble between them. So one's at -24, bang on the octave, and then one's at -22.77. So that's the rhythm that I wanted, you know? Obviously the speed is dependent on the vibe you want to go for. I added in a bit of white noise. I just filter after the white noise, you know, I put it all the way to the left so it's nice and bright, nice and stereoed, and then I just high pass it so no low end in that noise. Okay, I'm really like, in my brain I'm thinking, why did I did save it and name it, right? Anyway, if I didn't, I need to do it after this tutorial because I love this bass, but I'm sure I named it something. Anyway, I digress. So it's got a few effects on, a little filter movement, like nothing too crazy. Using this filter setting is cool because it's like a little EQ bell, so you can add a bit of shaping like without doing a full-on notch filter, which can sometimes be too much. So using that bell to sort of do a little mini sort of notch, get some movement in there, bit of flanging. I like the flanger a lot these days. It already sounds massive because of the distortion. Okay, so how I often make sounds, in case you're new to the channel, is I distort everything into eternity, really, all the way down to hell, Jesus defeating the devil, and back up to heaven again. That sort of level of distortion is what we're dealing with, okay? So 18 dB on the drive, and I actually put a bit of convolution reverb before as well. It's just mental though. The comb filter. Oh, it's called My Digital Uncle. Like, how could I forget? Because I really, really was proud of that name. So it's My Digital Uncle, I think, is the name of this patch. If I got to find it again because this really frustrates me now. Because I mean, like, I want it to have the name on there. My Digital Uncle. There it is. Okay, even better, right? So yeah, the comb filter, I love using that because it basically adds stereo in a lovely way. So just really adding a stereo signal to the sound by using the comb filter and mixing it in and having the stereo mode turned on. The plus minus, the polarity, gets vastly different results depending on which one you use as well. So always test them because sometimes the minus one is sounding better. Lane 2, a bit more reverb and actually a bit more saturation. It's absolute filth, that one. I'll put that on a future phase plant pack. I'm actually sort of gearing up to do 50-50, a phase plant and a vital, and I'm sort of doing a bit of a I don't want to say cheating or like the polyamorous, you know, I'm doing a bit of a polyamorous relationship at the moment with vital and phase plant, sort of like hand in hand, you know. Yeah. So next we have, so that was the first sort of bass, the main part of it done. I'll brush over the rest of the details because we'll be here forever. And this is the second one, which is sort of an arpeggiated thing. I wanted to create an arp and I struggled a bit, but I found how I could do it similar to how I do in Vital, which is using an LFO, creating a grid, hitting this magnet button and the step button, and then you can sort of choose your your arp shapes and stuff like that. But basically you set the grid as well to 16 and then 12. So basically I can have 12 steps up for an octave and 16 across, so it matches the grid, right? And that basically, that's how I do the pitch movement in the ARP, but the actual sort of main arpeggiated like volume movement comes from the trance gate here, so nice and simple with that. Just finding some speeds that I kind of want for the sound. And this sound, again, I just used my Grainstorms pack, and I got the Siren Flex sound, which if I just quickly turn off the effects, it's just like a siren, basically. Nothing crazy. If I turn these off. It's a siren sample and a little part of the siren. It always sounds like a fairground or something. That gets FM'd through a triangle wave. What I often do when I FM stuff is usually through a sine wave or a triangle, and it kind of depends on what you're putting in because the results are quite different. But when you start going into like square, you know, you get those very obvious like harmonics of the square and saw wave coming in. So then you hear less of the actual granular FM in a clean way. So I always tend to stick with sine waves usually. But the triangle wave, except sometimes I imagine it sometimes has a bit of extra padding, like a bit of extra distortion padding almost. So sometimes that's good as well. So I always try to check the triangle or the sine and see how it reacts. But yeah, my sine wave, my triangle wave, yeah, it's doing its track to the LFO here, so to +12, so that the pitch responds to what I've set up in the LFO, if that makes sense, you know. So obviously that's my arpeggiated with the changing pitch notes. So I had to obviously set that to something. So I set it to the pitch of the granular generator and of the triangle, so that the pitching works properly, you know? Then a bit of noise. It's quite subtle. Only a little bit, because it really gets amplified through the distortions and things. So a little bit of convolution, random one here, the water blob, sounded good. A little bit of shaping. Clean kind of distortion there, doesn't change the harmonics much, just amplifies the volume a lot. Then I'm doing the comb filter again, because I use that on every patch now pretty much, to mix in some stereo signal. We have got a bit of global unison on here. Sometimes like I'll check if it needs it or not. So the stereo will often come from the global unison and the comb filter, and maybe even some stereo spread in the distortions as well. So the stereo actually gets built into the sound through various different ways, all adding together. Okay, I'm trying to move fast. A little bit of notch filtering here, a bit more distortion drive, bit of flanging again, because I really like to use that at the moment, for a more natural moving of the harmonics of everything, just mixed in a little bit. I've actually used the disperser here for the first time in about 3 years. Not sure why, I just kind of fancied it. More distortion. High shelf boost. That's always great at the end to like bring those high end frequencies up together if they need a bit more. I must have named this one as well, but again it's like decided to not show up. Which is very frustrating for me, because, yeah, I just hate things when they're not organised. So, what did I name this one? Oh my lord, this is going to make a terrible video now. The Drunken Munkin? No, that's one I made the other day. These are not released yet. The Drunken Munkin. My goodness, I must have saved it as something, right? If not, I'll be Dracula's Tavern. No, that's one I made recently. Sorry, this video is getting really, really bad now. If I didn't save it, I'd better save it just in case. I'm sorry, this is really unprofessional again. Okay, so that's that. That's it basically, let's stop there. Finish tutorial. No, we finish off the composition now. So I've made 2 basses, right? I mean, this one's clearly better, right? I kind of got a bit more lucky with that one. Every time I do sound design, I'm basically just trying to get lucky, you know? But I still use them together, and they still sounded good together. You know, you can't have the good without the bad, you know? Not saying that one's bad. Sorry, mate. I didn't mean to say you were bad. I didn't mean that, mate. Come on, you know me. Yeah, so I bounced them both out together, the same MIDI. The MIDI is very simple, just a G down to an F sharp and then back again. Yeah, I put my side chains on already. There's a little bit of side chaining from the kick and snare on the multipass. Visit the conflict side chaining video I did recently if you want to learn more about that, because that's exactly the method I employed. So yeah, we ended up with two files again, and I don't need to really extend them out. You know what they're going to be like, but yeah, the file, one of them like this, of all of the first bass, and then yeah, the other one obviously all of the nice one. And then I've put them all onto one channel so that they're never overlapping, and I'm just using one part from one part from another. And this process took me 5 to 7 minutes to move little pieces around in line with the beat to find a cool groove, right? So in this one I intentionally put some gaps in, and you could argue that there's some kind of formula to it. I basically leave a gap for the first impact, so the bass starts on the offbeat. So that's quite key. And then the second gaps, the other gaps in the composition are a bit more random, you know? So the first kick usually has a gap. That one doesn't, but it kind of does. It was just the end of a tail, you know? But the first kick on each bar, sorry. The first kick on each bar is the bass is deleted, and then there's also another gap somewhere, but the position of the other gap, like the sort of response gap, if you will, that changes depending on what I'm sort of feeling like for the groove. So the second gap gives a variation because the second gap's always in a different spot. But yeah, just playing around with the files and the gaps until I got a groove that I liked. And then, as I mentioned, I felt like it was still sort of missing, missing something still. So I ended up making this part here. Simple kind of neurofunky chord kind of thing. I probably need to name this one as well, so bear with me. I'm actually going to just do this right in front of you now, in your precious time. Precious time, that's what we call it. See how easy it is to come up with names. So two saw waves, one at -12, one at +3, slightly off, +2.98, shoot me. Another sample from my Grainstorms library, and this is the scrape build, and this one does that sort of ringing, sort of almost like ringing bell kind of metallic sound in the background. But that's important to add a bit of like a Foley texture, you know? But that's a small part of the sound, but I liked it. There's a filter on these saw waves. So, low pass filter, LFO down, just a simple LFO, 6/16, ramp down. Okay, and I played in a pattern that, it follows this, the same MIDI pattern basically. But I ended up actually, I'll show you what I did at the end in a moment. But yeah, essentially there's two saw waves, low passed with a bit of texture, run through a bit of reverb, doing my comb filter again. Like that adds all the stereo really, like loads of stereo just coming from that. Some delay, a little bit of delay, taking out a bit more low end. Oh, and the ring mod as well. That's what adds this tremolo. So if you don't know how to do the tremolo on the ring mod, you get the normal mode, the sine oscillator, bring the bias all the way up and turn the frequency down. And you've got this nice little small range down at the bottom where you can apply some nice like fast tremolo effect. So that I like to use that as like a instant tremolo thing. You can mix the amount. So when it's like quite a decent amount, but not all the way. A little bit of non-linear filter. Kind of just colours the sound a bit. We're getting way up close to 20 minutes here, so I'm trying to be quick. Yeah, a bit of a high-end boost. Thank you, Logic, for that. You're really giving me loads of things to think about. But yeah, so basically I bounced that out, right? And then I wasn't quite happy with the pitching yet, so I copied the channel when I bounced it out, and I made a secondary channel for one semitone higher with the pitch shifter. Now the pitch shifter, like, it doesn't make it perfect, but this is like a background sound, so it's kind of good enough. And I turned the grain size down so that the pitch shifter acts pretty quickly, because if you leave that up, it's going to be too delayed, so that's important. But yeah, so I just arranged a little pattern using the bounces from that patch. And you can see I've just taken out some more low end and I've added a reverb on it. I've just used a Logic one. Any reverb will do. Taken out a bit more low end, and I've also compressed it a bit to actually to the kick. So it's sort of sidechained to the kick a bit more, you know? Because there's a main stab directly on that kick always, and I wanted the kick to still come through, like, more importantly. So this, you know, this lead is a background thing, so it doesn't need to be fighting with the kick for any reason. So yeah, that then I sort of composed it mostly to fit in the gaps, but there's a few parts where it sort of overlays with the rest of the basses as well. Because it's kind of in the background, it kind of fits in anyway. So you actually see. When I've bounced this file out, you'll see here, it's kind of like that when I bounced it. But when I ended up chopping it, I went really in depth, and I basically chopped like halfway through the sort of stab and like different parts so that the stab will be more pronounced, or there'll just be like the bit of the tail, and I just arranged it like that. So you have these parts here like dum 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 where they're like a bit quieter, but each hit is like different, so that there's no like none that repeat directly one after another. So that's important for the natural feeling. Okay, so it's got its own like kind of melody and rhythm on it as well, that part, you know, which is what keeps it interesting, because it's not so predictable, you know. Okay, we've got lots of little clicks and pops on there, but that's just because I haven't faded the files yet. But you don't really hear that again in the beat. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. That's my little tutorial today. Little bit of tips for sound design with phase plants, some creative inspiration hopefully for you guys, and also a little bit more composition advice, arrangement advice, like ideas, inspiration, moving things around till you find a cool groove. Yeah, but that's it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. May I quickly remind you before I go, you can book one-on-one lessons with me via the links down below. You can check out all of my past phase plant preset packs and vital and current preset packs on my website. You can grab label merch as well. I have a record label called Artificial Music. We have t-shirts available on my website you can get delivered directly to your door. They look wonderful. And we also, yeah, we have some great tunes coming out this year. Already kicked off the year with a great release from Sun called Tell You, which is excellent. And then we moved straight into a Neurofunk banger from Diolax with No Chances. And you can support our label on Bandcamp if you ever want to, or drop us a cheeky follow on SoundCloud and Instagram. Last but not least, I also have mixing and mastering services available if you ever want your track to have that professional edge, taking it to the next level. You can just email me at info@artefactmusic.com for a quote. And that's about all I can do with Shrimp, I think. Oh yeah, also if you want to support the channel, come and join me on Patreon. On the higher tiers, from €10 and above, you can access my Discord, but in the lower tiers, there's still loads of free content you can get as well. And it helps me be able to keep making videos for you guys here on YouTube as well. So that's enough for today. More from me very soon. Much love.